Hi! I was definitely not planning on this being my first real video, but here we are. So apologies, first and foremost. You might possibly hear my pug in the background, and I'm sorry if the audio sucks. I'm still getting used to it. I'll try not to be all lip smacky, because this is supposed to be a serious video. Now, on to the serious stuff. Off the script, editing Avery here. I just finished the script and I got really angry at the end, and this is my first video, so I don't know, be nice to me, I guess. I don't give a fuck either way. I hope you enjoy this first video. Bye! On July 10th, 2025, some serious accusations about an English dub voice actor was brought to light in the Love and Deepspace Twitter community. These accusations are very serious and involve sexual assault, domestic abuse, and ableism. And while these accusations are indeed very serious, it is important to note that Infold, the developer of Otome and Gacha game Love and Deepspace, has not confirmed the identities of any of their English voice actors, and therefore, shut the fuck up before people get replaced and you ruin lives based on rumors and similar voices. Viewer discretion is advised. Love and Deepspace is a pretty complicated game. So I'm gonna try my best to explain it in the context of this video only, and I will make a separate video later based off of my own experience playing it. So, hello again. You can call me Avery, and I hate those YouTubers who take forever to get to the point, so let's get straight to it. This is my first real video on this channel, and it was not planned. I'm an artist from nowhere, Pennsylvania, who got bored after graduating college. So here I am making videos about whatever I want, D'Angelo Wallace style. Today, I'm here to talk about the game Love and Deepspace, and the most recent controversy the game has kind of found itself in. A quick overview. Love and Deepspace is an Otome game from China made by the company Infold. Otome means maiden in Japanese, and therefore its main demographic is usually cisgendered females of the desired age group. The age group for this game being 13. Which is its own problem I will probably bring up in a later, less serious video. The game is also a gacha game, which is not important for this video. What you do need to know is that this is a dating simulator. There are 5 love interests, of which the main character, also known as you, and abbreviated to MC, would pick from and then play that character's storyline. You can date these characters, and along with dating them comes leveling up something called Affinity, which grants the player special decorations, outfits, poses with the Love and Deepspace love interests, and customizable MC, the voice ASMR audios in which the love interest talk to MC as if she were there with them. These audios range from sweet moments like cooking with the love interest, to mending wounds, to ear cleaning. Yeah, so you can kind of see where this is going. The love interests are a wide variety of men, ranging from Space Prince and your colleague Xavier, Merman Sea God and celebrity artist Raphael, Dragon Mob Boss and part-time fruit vendor Silas, childhood friend and space colonel Caleb, and finally the subject of today's video and my main, also a childhood friend and cardiosurgeon Zayne. In this game, you play as the main character, a badass average woman who just finished her testing to become a deep space hunter, and who also has a rare power. The powers in this world is called Evol, and we've seen it used in multiple different ways by multiple different people with different versions of the power. The powers aren't very important for the context of this video, so I'll just stick with the main point. The game is very much a safe space for women. The love interests in the game treat MC with respect and adoration, but not in a degrading or infantilizing degree. MC is a badass whose personality does change with the love interests, but some things remain the same. At her core, the main character of Lads, which is how we abbreviate the game, is sassy, humorous, girly, brave, and above all human. Her reactions are very realistic. There's a period tracker, and even the more revealing clothing isn't objectifying. You can take out your horniness on the game, or just receive words of love and adoration from your preferred love interest. This is all to say, if Mike Haimoto is indeed the voice actor for Zayne, it could go badly for Infold, who already has a strike against their company for their earlier Love Nikki controversy in late 2024 to early 2025, and the controversy involving both Caleb and Silas from Lads, which we will not be getting into right now. Save it for later. You see, there are ASMR audios you can listen to while working or relaxing or even sleeping, where the story is being told through the love interest's spoken dialogue alone. Like they're the only ones talking. These audios range from mediocre tasks such as cooking with the love interest, to them taking care of you while you're on your period, to other types of audios, that of which are very vague and have a weird premise for the audio, since China is very strict about spiciness in their media. The boys whimpering into your ear kind of take a whole different meaning if you believe one of the men voicing that love interest is an abuser of any kind, let alone sexual assault. It's not the character of Zayne who's the focus today so much as the speculated voice actor of the character. You see, Infold, for whatever reason, has never released any of the English dubbed voice cast of any of the characters in the game, including NPCs. In fact, two of the voice actors, Zayne's co-worker Grayson and the main character's boss Jenna, have been replaced, and it's speculated that it's because the voice actors were found out or they revealed themselves. This is very different to other companies such as Hoyoverse, who take pride in their voice casts. Infold, for whatever reason, decides to be secretive about their voice actors, probably to avoid the onslaught of rabid, horny fans bombarding the voice actors with whatever requests or creepy messages or controversies they might get into, or maybe Mike may be the cause. The fact is, we don't know, and we may never know. And I don't think it's right to harass the developers or the voice actors or the social medias of anybody in order to find out. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes, so we need to be patient and not harass anybody for information. Another disclaimer: the accusations against Mike Haimoto are also allegations. There has been no court case as far as I can find, and according to Avery Smithhart herself, the woman who made these allegations, she tried to at least get a restraining order on Mike, but was told not to bother since they now live in separate states. I believe she's still active on social media, but do not harass her for any information whatsoever. Don't try to look for or harass Mike Haimoto either, because again, these are allegations and haven't been proven by anyone's testimony but Avery's and another of his alleged victims that supposedly reached out to Avery. My stance on the allegations will not be stated until the end of the video, and depending on how you read my tone or what I say, you may be surprised by my stance. I'm not very good at expressing myself, I guess, so we'll have to see. To start, I can't help but compare this situation to the Vic Mignogna situation that happened a few years back. Both were voice actors in the English dubbing anime industry, both were accused of some type of misconduct, and both were excommunicated from most of the industry because of it. However, where the two cases differ is that Vic's case went to court because he filed a defamation lawsuit against Monica Rial and Jamie Marchi, which was ultimately dismissed by Texas courts, and he was ordered to pay their legal fees. This doesn't mean Vic was innocent. However, the Texas courts of all states dismissing his defamation case does not look good for him. Mike was smarter, in my humble opinion, because he didn't take Avery to court over defamation, as far as we know anyways. I think it was a smart move because Vic filing his suit and having it dismissed by one of the most conservative, women-hating courts in the US makes him look worse than if he just accepted his fate. Mike seems to either want to work on himself after everything, or he's lying low in hopes that the allegations eventually blow over. Either way, after Avery's allegations were made public in 2023, most of Haimoto's roles, if not all, were recast. We'll talk about this more later. So, Avery Smithhart released a bunch of evidence along with a 49-page Google document describing her experience during her relationship with Mike Haimoto, whose government name is Michael Joseph Rudd. This is public information now. She begins this document describing that for a while before she and Mike had even gotten together, she suspected she was on the autism spectrum, which was later confirmed to her after an official diagnosis. She claims one of his family members was also on the spectrum, and she heard him say ableist things about that family member. One of these comments was allegedly, "Don't cancel me. Fuck her and her retarded, autistic ass." To which I put in my script, which is a comment that a 13-year-old on Call of Duty would say, "You child." She then went on to say he isolated her from her friends and family, a common abuse tactic, and even controlled her career in the voiceover industry since he was both a director and a voice actor himself. She also claims that due to the stress, depression, and anxiety caused by her relationship with Mike, she lost so much weight she was under 100 pounds, was losing hair, and her immune system became compromised. Because of his control over her in the booth, she even lost her passion and love for voice acting, and from what I could find, Avery hasn't been part of the voice acting industry for a while since her relationship with Mike became abusive. Now, there is a bit of discrepancy in her account, as she stated that they both lived at his mother's house along with his sister from the beginning of 2020 to the summer of 2021. However, she also states that after many fights between Mike and his family that would escalate to plates of food being thrown against the walls, she moved in with her own parents in September of 2020. I'm not sure how this happened or if she got dates wrong or something, but that's what she says. She also claims that she worried about moving out without him and leaving him at his family's house for multiple reasons, including leaving behind the dog that they shared, how upset he would get being alone in the toxic environment, and him guilt-tripping her for leaving behind, quote, everything they had built, unquote, in regards to some kind of company they were trying to start up together. She's not really clear on what that company was supposed to be. However, she also claimed that her physical and mental health soared in the care of her family, so obviously something was wrong with the relationship. Avery describes financial abuse in which Mike convinced her that they should have a joint bank account for bills and other joint expenses, which is a reasonable request for someone to suggest if you're living together and or engaged. However, Mike would allegedly spend thousands of dollars within a month buying things for their startup without letting her know until she would find out herself, then he would admit to it. Mike also had this thing where he would lie about his parents and himself being in the US military, which is like hella illegal. He told Avery that when they started dating that both of his parents were in the Marines, and he spent his childhood traveling from base to base because of this. He also said he secretly served in the Marine Corps intelligence unit without his parents' permission, and boasted about the CIA also wanting him because he supposedly got a perfect score on their aptitude test. I call bull. He said he never killed anyone, and that he was discharged for, get this, disagreeing with his commanding officer, which, no. You fucking idiot, why would you say that? So my dog is in here. He's a pug, so you're probably gonna hear him in the background. He's also a brat. So, quick detour. I was a military child, and they don't discharge you for disagreeing with the commanding officer. Just a note. So because of his claims, Avery brings up some good questions that she had, but she never got answers for them for whatever reason. Like, how long did he serve? What in the actual fuck was his job title and description? What type of discharge did he have on his record? And if he served in the military, why did he still have student debt? Because the military pays for all of your schooling. It pays for everything when you join the military. He claimed he knew multiple languages, which, how did you not test that right away? Bro, I would, My opinion should not matter. At the end of 2020, she found out he was cheating on her with another voice actress, and his feelings for the other voice actor would vary across her accounts. As in, he would tell her he felt differently about the other woman depending on his mood, or whenever he needed to manipulate Avery into staying or doing what he wanted. In his confession of cheating to Avery, he told her that a, quote, different version of himself has feelings for someone else, end quote. This is where Avery lets us know that Mike claimed to have DID, which in my non-professional opinion, fucking no you don't. For someone who was an ableist piece of shit, he sure liked to refer to himself as special. When Avery confronted Mike about his DID with the fact that it develops in childhood and not in high school like he claims, he said he was a special case. Honestly, kudos to Avery for actually researching the illness and not just taking his word for it, then confronting him when shit didn't add up. He later decided to call up Avery one day and yell at her for telling people that they were dating because he didn't want to blow his cover with his other girlfriend or ruin his reputation. He also tried to gaslight her on the phone one night, saying they hadn't talked in months when they just talked the night before that. The rage I would feel. Oh my god. This man is insane. I will attach the document Avery wrote discussing the situation in the description so y'all can read it. But Avery then goes over the tactics she believed Mike used to keep her attached to him and to keep her in the relationship and keep her from announcing this shit to the whole world. Essentially, she describes love bombing in the beginning of the relationship. He was nice and sweet at first, the perfect partner. He would tell her about a relationship he had before her, which was on again, off again, and that he couldn't, quote, love her like she needed to put himself at fault. Probably to gain Avery's sympathy and make it easier to make her think he's changed his behavior or that he's capable of changing it. Avery claims that she and Mike's first fight was over the fact that they hadn't had sex yet. I'm sorry, that's not funny. It's just, what a man thing to do. This is especially heinous to me, if this is true, because while Avery doesn't give us an exact amount of time they were dating before they moved in together and he proposed, she did allude to it only being about a month and a half or something like that. After the fight, they had gone to a museum where he kept walking ahead of her and gave her the silent treatment, all because she wouldn't put out, even though she told him her past trauma regarding SA and she wasn't ready yet. The audacity. He would then start pushing Avery to talk about her sexual trauma in therapy, probably so she could get over it faster and sleep with him. He was also paying for her therapy until a few months into the relationship, in which he told her she's not sleeping with him yet and not healing fast enough. The first time they sleep together, Avery claims she forces herself to do it. Maybe it's because she thought she was ready, or maybe it was all because of his pouting finally worked to break her resolve. Maybe it was both. But she claims she cried after they were done and he left her alone to cry it out. When he asked her how it was the next morning after, Avery told him it was painful, but he refuted, saying that he could tell she was into it. She insisted that whatever he did to her hurt her physically, to which he replied, quote, a lot of women like that. Avery then convinced herself at the time that the pain was just because she was inexperienced and that it would get better. I want to take a break from the story here for a few reasons. First is that I want to clarify for the young people out there that just because it's a normal thing in a relationship to have sex, whether that's penetrative or not, it's important that you hold off anything sexual until you are ready. Sometimes you think you're ready, so you start having sex, but then you realize that you aren't, and that's okay. It's okay to say no and to stop without either of you having finished. It doesn't matter how far into the relationship you are. If you're not ready to have any sexual relations, or if you only want to stick to a certain kind until you're comfortable with moving on, then that's completely and utterly valid. Even if you're one of those religious people who want to put off and wait until marriage to have sex, it's okay if you aren't ready on the honeymoon. Your partner should completely understand and accept that. You're ready when you're ready, not when your relationship gains a new title or enters a new milestone. There's another reason I want to break here, and that's because Avery does briefly explain what she claims to be sexual assault by Mike. However, this is where my opinion may differ from the others. Regardless, a trigger warning is warranted for this part of the video specifically. So let's start with her account. Avery explains in her account that a voiceover director invited her and Mike out to a bar for their birthday party. Avery got too overwhelmed by all the people and the noise, so she and Mike left the party early. He was tipsy, she was not, and he was seemingly upset that they left. When they got into their apartment, Avery started to undress, but Mike stopped her and started initiating sex. Avery doesn't say in her account that she told him no at any point, but that she froze, which is a valid response for someone who was overstimulated and had previous experiences with sexual assault. He continues until eventually realizing, in her own words at least, that she's not responding. He calls her name, then in a panic movement, stops, and profusely apologizes. I want to break again because I have a problem with Avery's account here. At no point does she say here that she told him no or to stop. She says she freezes, which is neither a yes or a no. I want to be clear, I'm not saying that she is at fault, but I'm also not going to say that Mike is at fault. After all, she doesn't know if he was actually tipsy like she claims or if he was drunk. Cues are hard to read after a certain point of intoxication. I'm also not trying to say Mike is a victim in the situation, because he's not. He should not have initiated anything if he was under the influence, especially knowing Avery's history. He is in the wrong, but I do not classify this as assault. Once he realized she wasn't responding, he stopped. It was truly a mistake on his part. He had no business to try anything sexual with someone with a history of assault, and he had no business engaging in sexual activity while under the influence. This does not make him a rapist. A person's feelings are that person's feelings. They'll feel what they want no matter what. It's because of this that I feel Avery is valid to feel that she was assaulted. Her reaction was very real and valid. She is entitled to feel how she feels about this night. Now here's where Mike is completely in the wrong. After he stops, he has Avery repeat over and over, quote, "It's my body, I own my body," which is entirely inappropriate and weird. By the way, she states they don't have sex again for the remainder of the relationship. She also claims it's because he seems to be disgusted by her. I have a different theory. It's not fair for her to state this about Mike. He could have pushed himself away out of disgust for himself, or maybe anxiety for hurting her again. Maybe he realized sex might not be for her. There are multiple theories that we may never know is the real answer. However, he did end up cheating on Avery, which shows that no matter if it was disgust or guilt, he's still a terrible person. Following this recounting of the alleged assault, she moved to California with their dog while he remained in Texas, and they were supposed to move there together. Communication was shaky. He broke up with her over the phone in 2022. She told him she refused to pay the rent on their shared apartment, to which he agreed to, but refused to take her off the lease. This resulted in a back and forth between the two of them and the landlord. I want to be honest with you. The evidence that Avery has given the public doesn't really prove one way or the other that abuse happened. The text messages she shows us are just her trying to contact him for a few days before he gives a short message about either being busy or not wanting to talk, and depending on the mental state of someone, I don't think that should be considered abuse. Is it a shitty thing to do? Yes. But this is not classified as abuse. Shitty behavior is not classified as abuse. The other text-based evidence she gives is Discord messages back and forth with her friends about Avery's concerns. But again, this doesn't really mean anything, as it's just Avery complaining to friends about shitty things Mike is doing to make her anxious. It doesn't necessarily indicate abuse. Looking through this evidence confuses me even more, because again, we just have her side of the story, not his. So this recounting is Avery recounting a story when they were at McDonald's to one of her friends, Maddie, apparently, on Discord. And I'm going to read it out to you so you understand what I mean. Avery says, "Do you ever react negatively to anything you perceive as yelling, even if it's someone just getting stern with someone else?" Maddie replies, "Oh, most definitely, especially if it's a male," which, I mean, relatable. Avery then goes on to say, "Mike and I went to McDonald's at like midnight, and all these random dudes were just hanging out in the parking lot. Not that weird, except someone they knew was in the car in the drive-thru, so they all surrounded the car and proceeded to walk up and down the drive-thru lane and hold up traffic. I immediately get nervous and start to shut down. Mike then tells the lady taking our order that these customers coming up are being disruptive. We wait for another 15 minutes while she just talks to them. Like, they are swapping phones back and forth from the car to her window while the other dudes are still circling their friend's vehicle. Finally, we get up to the window and Mike angrily starts telling the lady she's losing customers because she's shooting the shit with these guys and not telling the person's not in a car to get out of the drive-thru. The way she texts is very hard to read, by the way. I was so fucking uncomfortable because one, I would have just left the drive-thru. Two, I wouldn't have confronted someone. Maddie replies, "Oh, big mood." Avery says, "Basically, I was checked out for the next hour and Mike was like, I feel like it's not fair that you shut down when I voiced my complaints. I wasn't raising my voice and that lady messed up. Like, I don't know how to explain it. As a woman, I just shut down." Maddie says, "Honestly, same though." Avery says, "Like, I dissociated so long. Like, yes, that lady messed up, but dang, the whole situation was weird and I would have just left. Like, it's McDonald's and we don't need to wait 30 minutes. Maddie says, "Yeah." Avery says, "As we drove off, the same dudes flipped us off and Mike got fucking pissed and started shouting in the car. I fucking hate that." So, like, this situation isn't exactly abusive at all. This just happens to be, like, I don't know, I get pretty bad road rage sometimes. I know that there are other actors that get road rage. I'm sorry, Avery, I just don't see abuse in this situation, like, at all. This is very much a you issue that, honestly, you should work on, and so should he. I'm not saying that he shouldn't. He shouldn't be getting angry over that shit, and I agree with you, he shouldn't have stayed in the situation. He should have just left. But I think using womanhood as an excuse to, like, as a woman, I just shut down. And it's like, don't use the fact that you're a woman as an excuse for your anxiety, because that's just not the case. For example, if my boyfriend was doing that to me, I would have been yelling at him back. I would have been like, "Leave the fucking drive-thru. You're being immature. Knock it the fuck off." Because that's the kind of person I am. As a woman, I'm not gonna shut down. As a woman, I'm not gonna yell at him. As me, I'm gonna be like, "Get the fuck out of here or I'm leaving right now." Like, you're an anxious person. That's okay. I'm an anxious person too. We just tend to deal with that differently. But you can't really blame Mike specifically for your anxiety. And I want to make it clear, I'm not blaming Avery at all. I'm not blaming Avery. I do believe that her accusations of, like, his shitty manipulative behavior, I do believe her. And I do agree that that is abusive. But I do not agree that in this instance he was abusive, and I don't really agree that this kind of aggression that he shows is a problem per se. I think it's a very natural reaction for some people to get really angry with what's going on in the fucking McDonald's drive-thru. I also don't think it's normal to want to stay there and fight. I just think these are two different people with two different reactions. And I don't think it's fair to say that this is Mike's aggression coming out, because in my opinion, it's really not. Granted, I'm not there. I was not there when this happened. I was not in that drive-thru, and I was not with Avery and Mike. However, from what she is telling her friend on Discord, and from what she is saying in her document, I just don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't. Not with this instance, at least. Looking at the messages between Avery and apparently June, which is Mike's mother, they had a pretty good relationship from what I'm seeing, at least in the text messages. And Avery doesn't really talk bad about June necessarily. So they go back and forth, talking about, like, you know, mundane things. But on Friday, December 18th, 2020, Avery texts June and says, "Mike isn't answering my texts or calls. I wish people would text better. Mike isn't answering my texts or calls. I assume very busy with work. If it's okay, I'd like to come in this weekend and maybe we can go Christmas light looking." June replies, that would be great. Ananda and I think, is that supposed to be Amanda? And I were talking about doing that. I said I was going to roll down the windows and blast the AC so it feels like Christmas. And yes, Michael is ignoring texts and calls he's directing at Sentai. By the way, my mother is not coming after all. Avery says, okay, I'll wait a little bit and may come in. I don't want to surprise him and him feel upset, you know, lol. So that was the end of that. So there's like a period in the text messages between Avery and Mike where Avery is texting and Mike's just not answering, and this must be because he was voice directing a Sentai, because apparently he was a voice director there. I didn't fucking know that. I guess I should look at the goddamn things more. I should look at the credits more, I guess, is the thing here. There's also a period of these text messages between Avery and June where June expresses her desire to get her son to come and help Avery out in their California apartment that they had gotten. That this was the end of their relationship, by the way. This is when they started like breaking up. So June was very supportive through that, sending Merry Christmas texts and everything. On Monday, February 28th, Avery reached out to June saying, I reached out to Mike yesterday, letting him know that I would like to get my stuff within the next 2 weeks. He doesn't have to be at the condo, but he does have to get my car keys, condo key, and mail key to me. I suggested mailing them to my parents' address. He has not responded, and I have a feeling he won't. He also said he dropped my car off at a mechanic a month ago, but never told me the name, price, or location. I'm worried it's just sitting somewhere, I think is what it's supposed to be, accruing fines. I want to be as civil as possible and truly don't want things to be more complicated than they already are. However, we still need to discuss joint accounts, bills, and rent. I'm trying to give him his space within reason, but I need to start making moves. And that same day, about an hour later, June texts back, wow, he's being a jerk. He called earlier and said he was flying out at 6:30 a.m. for LA. He said he needs to talk to you, hopefully very soon. Otherwise, how are you doing? They go back and forth a little bit, and that's the end of the text messages. So yeah, they had a little conversation about Mike. So it seems like Mike was being like very standoffish. It seems like he was being very difficult with the breakup, but like that's nothing new. That's a usual thing, I think. It doesn't excuse his assholery. It just, you know, it's an average thing, I think. He is a dick, I will say that. After all of this stuff that I've been reading and that I've been, you know, researching, he does seem like a dick in relationships. This one is Mike and Avery going back and forth, and this one says, Mike says he's served in the Marines. This is a PDF document. They're talking about movies and dogs. Hey, how about we fucking get to the point? I'm just scrolling right now. Where does he say he was in the Marines? Okay, they're talking back and forth about The Dark Knight. Mike says he was young when he saw it. And then he eventually says, haha, yeah, I was a sophomore in college when I saw The Dark Knight, and I was out of the Marines, and I wish you fucking people would spell check. Haha, yeah, I was a sophomore in college when I saw The Dark Knight, and I was out of the Marines and finishing at UH when I saw the last one. Haha, yeah, so shut up. The Dark Knight was actually the last movie I saw before I left for the Marines. How does that apply to the last text? I don't understand. I don't understand how these people communicate with each other. I fucking hate it here. in this like folder of documents, these are the exchanges between Mike and Avery. Avery starts on December 23rd messaging Mike, just the like, I love you, dinner. It goes on. I'm not gonna read what's going on. I'm just going to just assume the dates I'm reading out is Avery reaching out to Mike and not receiving any like returns or anything. Y'all are gonna hear my dogs in the background. I cannot control them. Anyways, December 23rd, December 24th, December 24th, December 24th. Lots of messages in the same day, I'm assuming because it's Christmas Eve. December 25th, December 26th, again in December 26th, December 27th, December 28th, December 30th, December 31st. Later that day at 4:30, she messaged first at 1:11 p.m. and on that same day, December 31st, at 4:39 p.m., she says, "You okay? Sleeping?" And Mike replies, "Sleepong," which relatable actually. That's the only communication that they had in what, a week? Crazy of him to do that. But I mean, if he's a busy man, he's a busy man, right? Well, Saturday, January 1st, she messages him at 12:45. And then she messages him again at 6:10 on the same day, and then at 7:45 on the same day. January 2nd, she messages him. January 3rd, she messages him. Monday, January 3rd, 2022, on the same day. About an hour later, Mike says, "A tiny bit better, but having to work." Avery asks, "Will you call me later tonight?" And he says, "Yeah." I assume that happened? I don't know. Thursday, January 6th. She messages him twice that day. He replies later that day, "Call you after sessions, sorry." She says, "No worries." On January 7th, they have a conversation about their dog traveling. And then I guess the silence begins. They have fairly consistent communication on January 7th. And then it starts again January 8th. She messages him 4 times that day. January 9th. So there was a long period of about a week there where Mike wasn't responding to Avery at all. And then it's fairly consistent for the rest of the time. I don't know why she's sending him screenshots all of a sudden. It's a whole jumbled mess of things. Like, these are not well sorted out. These are not, like, well communicated. I think what she should have done to make everyone's lives easier if she wanted this information to come out, because what normal person is going to look through all this shit? I think what she should have done is she should have had the text messages that were relevant to whatever she was saying in one document, and then she could have had like the full conversations in the other to prove that she isn't like lying about it, like she didn't make up these text messages, like she didn't fake them. You know what I mean? It's just a whole jumbled mess, and I don't see Mike being aggressive or anything in here. It just looks to me like he's busy, very busy, and she does seem like she requires more, you know, love and tender care and attention, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think she should also have understood that he was busy, but I understand at the time she was probably really anxious. I think at this time she was living in LA while he was still in Texas, you know, working with Sentai. So I'm sure there was some anxiety for her there. So the next document that I have is Mike post-breakup text messages. And in these, everything seems very civil. They seem like incredibly civil. So I guess this is what Avery means when she says that he was manipulative. And I can definitely see where she gets that from. They're just kind of talking back and forth about like, get rid of the Netflix account, you know, oh, hey, your car is in the shop. But again, he doesn't tell her where her car is. He's also trying to get her recording sessions at Sentai in line with his, so I guess they can talk face to face. I don't know. It's very confusing. It's very weird. It was very civil. I don't understand. Oh my god. I can't tell if Mike's option to stay silent is a stupid or smart move on his part. Obviously, something in these accusations must be enough for him to get fired from his directing job and voice acting roles, but him deciding to stay silent can do one of two things. It can make him appear more innocent, as if these accusations are so false that there's no need to even come out with a statement one way or the other. Or two, it makes him look 10 times more guilty, because she does, in my opinion, have enough evidence of him being an asshole at the most to make most people think Avery is telling the truth. There's another victim in all of this, which is censored. Like, her name, her profile pic, and everything is censored out by Avery, but she claims that she was also in a relationship with Mike, and that he basically kind of had the same rules for Avery that he had for this woman, and he was also conducting yet another affair when he was together with this woman. So this guy just literally can't keep it in his pants. I think he might be into polygamy. Maybe he should really look into that. Bet Utah would be a really great place for him. Anyways, basically, I'm not gonna read out this whole thing because it's a lot, and it's a lot of text messages, and you know me, and so far, Avery's thoughts are all jumbled in her text messages. So, but basically, what this woman says is that he has a lot of rules for her, and she also says that he has a lot of rules for a woman that she recently found out is his mistress, where they're not allowed to talk to each other, they're not allowed to talk to others about the relationship, and this woman says she has to wear her engagement ring around her neck. The fuck she does. I'm sorry, I can't. So, oh, by the way, this woman reached out to Avery. She's the one that reached out to Avery, not the other way around. Avery didn't even know that this woman was in a relationship with Mike. Yeah, this is it's a whole situation. I'm leaving everything in the documents and stuff in the description, because this is a lot of stuff. And honestly, I know I'm the one doing the video, but you'll see when you get to all of the evidence, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it, and it's just exhausting to go through it all because of the way that these people message each other and stuff, and it's just a whole clusterfuck. And it also was just on one side of the situation, because so far I haven't seen anything from Mike specifically in his text messages or anything that would be considered like abusive in any way. He just kind of, it seemed like he was just busy. Which I don't know, because it's not my relationship and I don't know the motherfucker, and maybe, just maybe. Can you tell I'm getting fed up? I'm getting fed up. Maybe I'm not cut out for this shit. Avery does have evidence. She got a private investigator to investigate Mike, and she does have evidence of that posted in these documents that they found no record of Mike within any branch of military. So he was definitely lying about that, which is a fucking crime, and I don't know how he's not getting pegged for that. I don't know why he's not getting in trouble for that. Unless he is, and they had to keep it secret, and that's why he was fired from, like, all of his studios, you know? But I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Avery also has stuff in here from her therapist about everything that's happening. And I don't know, man. That just kind of seems like that's your therapist. She's getting your side of the story. She's not getting Mike's. Therefore, she can only help so much. You know? Like, she can only help you so much. She can only be so much evidence, because you are giving her the story. Just like you say that Mike was giving his therapist the story. Like, we as people don't know if any of this is true. Like, we are relying on you and we're relying on Mike, and Mike hasn't said shit, which honestly I can't tell is if that's a good or a bad move. I really can't. I don't think it is. I think it's a very bad move, but hey, you know. To be honest with you, I don't really give a damn about any of this. The only real evidence Avery has to corroborate that what she said in the document was that Mike lied about being in the Marines, which is probably what got him fired from his job rather than the alleged abuse, because lying about being in the American military is indeed a very serious crime. That's not to say I don't believe Avery. I can't say with 100% certainty that she's telling the truth, because we've only gotten her side and some very lackluster evidence to support it, but for the most part, I do believe her. Some of that shit isn't really something someone can say or make up about an experience they've had, and she goes into detail, and that's what's important here. Assuming the allegations are true for a moment, Mike pretending he has DID is really weird and really humiliating for him, because imagine faking an illness like that and being so bad at it that you can't even look up the illness yourself to make your symptoms, like, keep your symptoms straight. Like, you can't keep your story straight. Faking PTSD is also very weird. I have PTSD. I don't know how anyone can fake that. Like, you legitimately can't. Like, I avoid certain situations because I don't know how I'll react. It could either be like I'll have a really good time or I'll have a really bad fucking panic attack. It's happened before, so I really don't know. Mike Haimoto, Michael Rudd, you're a motherfucking idiot. I hope someone kicks your ass or something, because it sounds like you deserve it. You sound like a real bitch. You sound like a real asshole. Just know that if you were in a relationship with me, you wouldn't survive it. Not because I'd kill him or anything. No. I mean, like, I'm really mouthy. I'm really bitchy. There's no way that he would get away with this. No way. I hope he gets in a relationship with a woman that kicks his motherfucking ass. I truly hope that Avery is doing well. I hope she gets the help that she needs. I hope that the next time someone treats her terribly, she calls them out on it immediately and doesn't allow them to abuse her. I hope she's found the strength and courage to stand up for herself and leave a terrible situation like this. And when I say that she doesn't allow someone to abuse her, that's exactly what I mean. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, it is a choice. And those choices are made by whatever mental illness somebody may have. It does not mean that a person deserves it because they allow themselves to be abused. It does not mean that. I want to make that clear. Staying in a relationship like this definitely is a decision, but that does not mean that decision deserves abuse. That does not mean that, and I want to make that very clear. I think on my channel, what I want more than anything is to hold people accountable for their own actions and other people's actions if I'm talking about something serious like that. So I want to make it clear that just because Avery chooses to stay in that relationship, that she chose to stay in that relationship even when she knew she shouldn't, that does not mean that she deserves whatever she got. That does not mean that. That does not mean that at all. And I want to make that clear. Is it clear? Good. I hope it is. This was a lot. And now I have something to say to the Love and Deepspace fandom. Stop fucking emailing and tweeting at the studio about this. Stop trying to get an answer. You either will never get it and worry yourselves over absolutely fucking nothing, or you'll get what you want and it could put the entire game at risk because of your theory on accusations, of your theory on who the voice actor for a certain very important character in the story is. Mike was blacklisted from the industry, and most, if not all, of his roles have been recast. There's a very, very low chance that he is the voice of Zayne, and either way, the studio will probably never confirm or deny it. I guess we'll just have to wait until the next major update to see if they've changed Zayne's voice actor or if he remains the same. We know that Infold does indeed look at the social medias of all the fandoms, like Japanese, European, American, Korean, like they look at everyone. And the proceedings on whether or not they choose to release any information may take longer than we're demanding for answers. So shut up, live with the peace that the dubbing company Infold has hired isn't that stupid, and enjoy the damn game. That's all I have to say about that. That was a lot. Thank you for sticking around if you did. Sorry I got a little heated. I probably got a little loud. This is, again, my first video. How'd you like it? I'd like to take these ending parts of my videos to chit-chat, you know? Eventually, when I have more videos, I will have links on the screen or whatever, you know, what the professionals do to have my next videos up there, you know? I don't know if I'm gonna edit this or not. We'll see, I guess. I have quite a few videos planned for the next few videos. I have a huge fucking list that I went over with one of my friends, who will be doing my thumbnails, by the way. Shout out to her. I don't know if I want to name her yet, because I don't know how comfortable she would be with that. But I have a whole list that I went over with her about it. I'm still not sure, because I kind of want to talk about the Vic Mignogna situation, since I brought it up in this video. But at the same time, maybe not. I think maybe instead I'll talk about my obsession with Love in Deepspace, or my obsession with Vinland Saga, maybe my former obsession with Miraculous Ladybug. I have a lot of stuff planned. I don't know how long the rest of my videos are going to be. This is just a hobby for now, because I don't have a job currently at the moment, and I'm interviewing for a lot of jobs. But if you know anything about the American job market, you know that jobs will interview, but only because they want to say that they interview all the time and they have candidates and shit, and then they just don't hire anybody. So, you know, it's a whole thing. Maybe I'll make a video complaining about my fucking life. I have a lot of stories too. Like, I have a lot of story times that I tell. I have a lot of rants that I can go on. So it's good. It's all good. Thanks for watching. I hope to talk to you guys soon. Maybe my next video will just be me yapping about things, and it's gonna be terrible because I'm gonna have to edit that because I don't have an editor because I'm poor. I hope this video wasn't too stressful or triggering for any of you. If you're watching, thanks for watching. If I get enough fans, I'll start streaming on Twitch. I'll start streaming my art because, and I hope you guys like the background too, like the background stuff, because I draw a lot, so I just figured, why not start a creep show thing? Except I'm not as terrible as creep show. I don't stalk people. I get stalked. Like, for real. Like, actually. Those are story times that I can talk about. Hey, look at that. Thanks for watching. Bye.